When I breathe into my heart, I breathe into the heart of all beings.
That's beautiful. All right, so as we're coming into the solstice, the June solstice, I think it's going to be I know it's going to be a very special time for us. And just wanted to remind everyone that there is going to be a ceremony at 10:30 Eastern time that will start that activation. So that's something that I am definitely going to tune into. That will be at the Pyramid of Peace. And I know during the show, they have some special Libyan glass there and some other special stones that are going to be part of that activation as well. Veronica, do you have any words that you want to say about the June solstice that's coming up?
Oh, I think it's about the energy of infinite presence. And I think the first question that comes to mind is, what is presence? How do you know where you are, present? And for me, it's like, being inside my inner core, the truth of who I am. And I can feel it right now when I'm talking to you. So it also begs to, the question is, how do I know when I'm not in presence? And for me, it's when I am not in peace, love, and joy. That's when I know I am not in presence. So I first check in with my emotions, and then I backtrack to my thoughts, and then notice where I've been with those thoughts, right? Probably I'm stuck in that matrix of that negative self-talk, that doubt, the fear, that victim consciousness, right? So what about you, Jen? How do you know?
Presence. Presence to me is a feeling that I get.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really being in this very calm state. But when I'm in that state of presence, which I try to maintain presence throughout the day. So it's really about awareness too. Awareness, are you in the present moment? Are you in this now moment? Or is your mind taking you other places, thinking about the past, thinking about the future? Or are you completely present in the moment that's in front of you? And whenever I get to that place of presence, it feels like a warm, calming, peaceful energy. That's what it feels like to me. And that is part of the awareness, but also in that space, you have to be aware that you're there, but your awareness even ticks up even further, because now you have the ability to really see what's in front of you, what's around you, just from our intuition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our intuition of mine is feeling. I get a lot of feeling. So my intuition of feeling really upticks whenever I'm in that present moment. And you can get a lot of feedback about the situation at that moment.
True.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about, how can we bring ourselves back to presence, right? What are some ways that we can bring ourselves back to presence? And I think it's been, everybody talks about the breath. And I think a lot of people say, yeah, I've tried the breath, but that doesn't work for me, right? So I just want to add a little caveat here. It's the breathing, but it's also the breathing without that expectation, without expecting something to happen, right? is just calming your mind and being in that sacred space again. And also releasing the judgment of self for not being present, right? When you're able to drop those two things is when you can reconnect with that core. Like you said, Jen, it's a feeling, it's an awareness, right? And for me personally, I have to bring myself back over and over again. It's almost like it's an elastic. I'm in and then I'm out. I'm in and out.
Mhm.
So, and for me, as a mental health therapist, I also like to incorporate the science piece of it. And breath, breath has been, especially when you're doing those long exhales, when you're breathing, you are activating the vagus nerve, which is our 10th cranial nerve, which is responsible for the parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest, response, taking us out from that sympathetic fight or flight response back to that peace, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the gateway, that's the doorway back into presence. It's always there. We just need to find ourselves, our way back.
Yeah, and I think I love how you tied in the scientific part into this too. One of the things that we talk about the breath, and we have the Avesa breath,
Mm-hmm.
which both you and I are tuned to and aware of, and maybe we can help others with this too, if anybody wants to learn it. But it's really, whenever you have a moment and you're trying to get into presence, placing your hands on your heart, just that movement alone
Mm-hmm.
helps to interrupt what would be considered an egoic pattern. If you have thoughts that are rambling in your head, if you're worried about something, just that movement will stop that pattern. And just a deep breath inwards and then releasing, it gives you that stillness, that in breath, that moment of stillness where you can remain calm and get back into presence.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a wonderful tool which I've used for many years. And I would say the more you practice getting into presence, the easier it is, because then you'll just eventually stay there, be in that now moment, and that more often. In the beginning, I was bringing my hand to my heart a lot, all throughout the day, and now it's much easier. And how was your transition? Whenever do you feel after practicing, after becoming aware, after expanding, being more conscious, do you find it easier?
I find it easier. I think there are periods of time in which I feel like I am struggling a little bit more. But again, I don't criticize myself, dropping that judgment, because the judgment becomes like an anchor that keeps you stuck. So when I'm able to drop that judgment and go back into presence, I feel I can expand easier. But for me, there are cycles. I have cycles where I'm more connected and cycles where I'm a little bit more disconnected, because I'm still in a body, I'm still living, there's still things going on, right? But just not forgetting who I am and my essence and coming back to that.
Yeah. So you'd mentioned judgment a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important, because judgment is really what gets that stuck, right? So you have to release all judgment. And the one thing on how I can release that judgment, and is a good practice, and what I've learned is, when you're trying to come into presence and you put that hand to your heart, or if there's another method that people use to stop the pattern of the chatter in our head, is to look at that moment of awareness as a gift. Like, it's a gift that you've recognized that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because look at your life before, where maybe these patterns were happening and you had no awareness that it was even going on. So recognizing that, take that as a gift that you've recognized it, because we have to become aware of something in order to change it.
Right,
I've
right.
always recognized that as a gift.
And also we learn by contrast, right? How do we know we're aware is by knowing when we're not aware. So that's how we learn. So like you said, it's a gift.
I would invite the audience today is to just, be able to open your heart, open your mind, and relax into the multi-dimensional knowing of who you really are.
And just, sharing a practice that Jen and I use on a daily basis, which is the Avesa Breath. And, hands to the heart. The inhale, just say Avesa, which is hail, right? Hello, right? And let's do that together. Inhale, Ave. Exhale with a sound, which is releasing all need to control. Ending it with that smile that gives a signal to the universe, right? With you have your open heart, you're smiling, you're ready to receive. Well, let's do that again. Let's just inhale Ave. Exhale, and smile. Just notice how you feel. Notice what was that experience for you? Did it work? Try it.
I remember the first time I was introduced to that breath work
Uh-huh.
that I use every day now. And I was really using that as I was trying to increase my level of awareness just throughout my day, right? So when thoughts would come up, and I would use that as an interrupter to just everything, all is good. Everything is okay. You just need to trust, breathe. But I remember the one day when it's like your heart just the thump, the thump. Did you get that in the beginning as well? Because I was like, oh, wow. And now
I think it took me a while to really incorporate it. And now for me, sometimes when I do the Avesa breath, I feel like it's my heartbeat and the heartbeat of the universe at the same time. That's what I feel. I feel that that's their connection. And when I expand, it's like I'm expanding with the universe at the same time. So that's where my experience leads me right now.
Yes.
And like you said, it's a way to reset. For me, it's my reset mechanism, right? When you're stuck on we live in a world where things are happening all the time, right? We need to have our ego, alert, because we need to drive, we need to do this, we need to do that. But if I am forgetting who I am and just, living in this three-dimensional world, I need to go back, right? I need to remember. And for me, the Avesa breath is a very easy thing that I used to do it at work actually all the time. Nobody notices it, right?
Yeah, and I know just being out, if you're with people, you could just like tap your heart.
Yes.
As you take the breath, or just do something to remind yourself that, if you're in that sort of moment where you want to come back to presence.
Right.
So there's all sorts of ways to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think it's important to also just mention that we're going to have worries that come in, but it's really what we do at that point that really makes the difference. Because we're human, we're going to have these emotions. But if a worry comes in, can you just dismiss that thought, right? Or the other way would be to keep worrying and doubting. And that's whenever it gets internalized. And that's what we're trying to avoid, right? Because the essence of who we really are is not those type of emotions.
Mhm. True, true. And when you just get stuck with those, thoughts and feelings, it's almost feel like you're going through a downward spiral, right? And you can feel yourself moving down and moving down and moving down. And it feels very sticky and murky. And that's okay. Again, no judgment, right? Moment to, put your hand in your heart, to your heart and just do that Avesa breath and just lift yourself back up, right? With compassion.
Mhm. And I think that's the key to what we're trying to do, expanding into our multidimensional nature,
Mhm.
is to really understand that within us, we all have the pure essence of us is perfection, and to not forget that, right?
Mhm.
Um, because sometimes within our 3D world, our day-to-day life, we can get stuck in things like that.
Right.
And so it's really, I always say life is an upward spiral, right? So we can keep spiraling around, we can spiral down, or we can expand consciousness by lifting. And I think
Mhm.
that's part of it. We want to be spiraling upwards. We want to remember who we are. We want to remember the essence that resides in each one of us.
Right. Right. And for me, sometimes I have to tell myself, I am not a body with a soul. I am a soul
Mhm.
in a body. Right.
Right.
So it's just having that reframing, that frame of reference.
Mhm.
What's more important?
Yeah. Let's share the June calendar, because I
Mhm.
think it's important for some of the things that have happened in this June time frame,
Mm.
especially with the codes that are being revealed through Egypt, some of the work we've done in the past, because each moment there's work to be done, right? And in June, this June, was really when when some of our friends went to Egypt, and there were some revelations there. So I'm going
Mhm.
to share the June calendar that we're familiar with, and if anybody's interested in this calendar itself, I'm going to show you just the June month, but this calendar is available to everyone. It's called I got it here, the
Mhm.
2023. Can you see it? Yeah, Ascension calendar, and I'll put a link at the bottom if anybody's interested. But let's just kind of walk through what June looks like. Okay. These calendars come into play because Master Lady Kira Ra puts them together for us. And she listens to spirit, she feels it, she sees it, and then she tries to recreate it with the graphics of what she's seeing and feeling and sharing with us. So this entire calendar came out back in December.
Mhm.
And if you see here, we're now into June. And so this is the month we're going to talk about, because this is what's most relevant to us. Um, but this is a single month um, within this entire experience that we're in right now, that carries within itself the infinite presence. So June is the infinite presence itself. All right. So if you look at the, if we go back to, there's a lot more revealed with what's happened in Egypt, but there was some dates on June 2nd, June 3rd, and then June 4th, where we were able to connect in with the group who were, getting some of the ascension keys for us. And I would say that right now, what this month's energy is about and what we have learned is really about the seed of creation that is luminescence, right? So it's all about illumination, amplification. But at the
Mhm.
top of the calendar here, the June calendar, you'll see the only month that carries within itself the infinite presence now is the moment that the ancient Ascension keys are revealed. Humanity's moment of recognition and conscious awareness. So we spent a lot of time about conscious awareness, right? Talking about how do you get back into presence. So the ascended conscious energy for this month is awareness, and the ascended numerology monthly code is 2 plus the infinite. All right. And there was quite a bit revealed earlier this month, and we'll learn about this as things integrate and as more information is revealed. What we really want to take away from today and the revelation of the infinite presence, bringing you back to your divine nature, right? So if you look at the solstice that's coming up on the 21st, that's this Wednesday. So right now we're in the energy of the beautiful new moon, creation itself. And in this moment, we've all made an active decision to be present in these times. So right now to say yes, and as we build into this solstice moment, if you gaze at the energy, you can see where we talked about the Avesa breath. And if you gaze to the energy to the right, you'll see that it looks like a frequency. It's like this radiance that's really present. So it's really opening up into the depth of the connection to the Ave. Ave saw energy, which Veronica just walked you through, that's radiating and is part of the ignition of the Pyramid of Peace. So June 21st, that is where I will be tuning into, is the Pyramid of Peace, because just being present for that moment is part of the activation as well.
So your life is your spiritual path. This is not a one-time thing or a Sunday practice. It's something that you have to incorporate into your daily life. It's something that you have to breathe in.
We talked about finding the essence, that pure perfection that resides within all of us. And that's really that spiritual being of who we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so some people may think, that it's just spiritual practices that people do. But really your life is your spiritual path, right? It's not a day out of the week. It's not attending a couple of days out of the week. Those are our moments for us, to really zone into paying attention to those spiritual practices. But it's really our day-to-day life. It's a reflection of our spiritual consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's remembering that, this is who we are. So this light that we carry within is with us 24/7. It is just, us connecting and remembering and coming back to it as often as we can. It's not something that we're searching outside or in someone else. It's just being present, being silent, and knowing that, this is who is with me right now all the time. And this is how I'm supposed to be walking this earth, is through this presence. So that's how I see it.
Yes. That's beautiful. And that's the awareness, right? That's the awareness that we have to have. So I think the spiritual practices, whatever it may be, I think people are drawn to different things. There's all sorts of spiritual practices. Some people like yoga, some people Reiki, some people different meditations. And all of those things are great and wonderful, but it's really our day-to-day life too that is who we are as spiritual beings.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the point we wanted to make, right?
Right. It's the canvas where we show ourselves, right? It's that day-to-day life, right? It's that day in and day out.
Mhm.
That's where our infinite awareness can just express itself.
Yeah, I mean, and through that, what do we gain? What do we gain from recognizing that and expanding our consciousness, right? Really stepping into who we are as a spiritual being. I would say for me, um, what I gain from that is the peace of mind, right?
Mhm.
The ease and flow of life, being able to recognize that everything that we need is already available to us. All we need to do is, ask, believe, and receive. We
Right.
have everything we've ever needed. We have to be open to receive the gifts that are available for us and claim them.
Right. For me, being in that infinite nature is recognizing that like abundance is our birthright. The universe is eternally abundant. We are part of that, right? So if I'm in flow, if I'm in connection with that, I synchronize with those energies, right? So it's not about having to do something or even having to expect anything. It's just entering into that again and being in that flow.
I think the June solstice, as far as ascended numerology goes, and what's special for June, what really sticks out to me
Mhm.
is that on the June solstice, the ascended numerology is back to the 5, right? The infinite presence of who we really are. And that's why I believe this June solstice is super, super important because it's recalling. I mean, it's amplifying that the truth of who we really are.
Mhm.
And is that going to, one, it's going to amplify us. Are other people going to be able to step into the truth of who they are? Is that
Mhm.
amplification going to affect many, many more people on the planet? I certainly hope so.
And I think the most of, when we start amplifying and start just spreading that light, I think it gives the opportunity to others to, feel that tingle, feel that questioning, and just start opening up to those energies, right? Because I think a lot of us are here only for that, right? It's just to become that light, that illumination.
Yeah, radiance, presence,
Mm-hmm.
being, that illumination, that radiation, right? And I do, yes, many of us are here now on this earth for these very special times. And it's exciting to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I am excited about the solstice. I'm excited about what it may bring. We are also looking at gathering 1,000 points of light for yet another ignition, and that's going to happen in July,
And July. Mm-hmm.
2 Thursdays. And where people, if they feel that they are if they are a point of light and they want to participate, these activations will help them into remembering.
Mm-hmm.
Have you signed up already?
Of course.
Me too. I'm looking forward to it.
Rainbow light.